Hello and welcome to the latest Sun Racing preview in association with Betway. I'm delighted to be joined by Matt Linnett of Sun Racing and Harriet Fuller to discuss the weekend's racing. It's all about Wincanton as the elite hurdle takes centre stage, followed by the Badger Beers Trophy. Two top-class races from Wincanton. It looks like a really exciting day's racing. I'm very, very much looking forward to the elite hurdle as we see Fusel Raffles, the return. It's a very exciting hurdler. Nicky Henderson thinks the world of this horse, and it'll be very interesting to see how he gets on in open company for the first time. Matt, come to you first. Very exciting horse. I know you like him.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see him back at it this season. I was a bit disappointed actually that we didn't get to see him at the festival, but he came out and won really, really well in that Grade 1, beating Fakadudari, who I really rate, and he had to work a little bit harder that day. Yeah. But actually, he put that race to bed in good fashion in the end. I just think that he's going to have too much class for this field and a bit too much pace.
Absolutely, I completely agree. Also, you've got to remember, he's only had 2 starts for Henderson. Both of which he's won impressively. The Adonis win was so impressive. He beat some good horses there. Echo, who's since won twice this season, and a few others who have also gone on to run well. And to win a Grade 1 on just his second start for the stable suggests he's got even more to come, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Harriet, would you agree?
I mean, everything we've seen so far suggests he's a very, very smart horse. The only slightly nagging concern would be that last year, Nicky Henderson, for the same owners, we have a dream coming into this. He won the Grade 1 at Aintree as a juvenile, and he kind of went missing last season.
That's a good point, yeah.
And sometimes these juveniles they just level off a little bit,
Absolutely.
Which we've seen. However, when you look at the field, I don't think it's very strong. And if he's anywhere near the level that he was last season, then really he should be winning this.
I completely agree. One of the things I have to mention is that Simon Muneer and Isaac Swade, the owners, have had some very promising hurdlers in the past, the likes of Grandouet, So Royal, even Bristol de Mai was a very promising hurdler at one stage. But they don't seem to really quite go on, and I do share your concern. He might have had his season to remember. But he is very exciting still, and as you say, this isn't the strongest race. I would like to give a mention to Le Patriot, Dr. Richard Newland's horse. This trainer is just so good, and he's only got 14 horses in the stable. And he only has 14 because he wants to keep 14, because he likes to give every single horse his singular attention, so that he doesn't take any more, so he can't waste any time with any others. I think this is a very progressive horse. Won the Swinton Hurdle at Haydock when last seen. He's only got a few pounds to find. I think he's going to be very difficult to beat, actually. I think he's going to really put up to the favourite, and it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. I don't think Dr. Richard Noonan would be putting him in here if he didn't think he was capable of a big run. Yep. So that'll be very, very interesting to see how he gets on. Grand Sancy and Quel Destin, Paul Nicholls is 2. He's also got Christopher Wood, actually.
Yeah, I think Grand Sancy showed some great form last season, but ultimately got found out at the very highest level. I think the one that I like is Quel Destin, because I think he's got some form in the book that he ran pretty well in the Triumph Hurdle at Cheltenham, and I thought that was decent enough, and then he came out and won again since. So I think if there's one to come out and improve for Nicholls, which is obviously a top yard, that might be the one for me if I was going to take a punt on the favourite, but I am struggling to look past it at the moment.
Yeah, no, fair enough. You agree with that, Harriet?
Yeah, I think Quel Destin, he showed quite a good attitude last time out. I was quite impressed with him that day. The only one I would give another mention to is Christopher Wood, who was 3rd in the Grade 1 at Aintree behind Pentland Hills. He was behind in the Swinton, but I'm not quite sure that was his running, and I do know that they do quite like him, so he could be interesting at a bigger price.
Yeah. Absolutely. One an even bigger price is a horse called Brandon Castle, who likes to tear off in front, and if he gets 20 length lead, then he could be difficult to catch. An absolutely humongous price, but in all likelihood that isn't going to happen. But I think we're all agreed that Fusel Raffles is the one to beat. I think the Patriot will push him close, but yeah, Fusel Raffles all round.
Yeah,
for me, yeah,
lovely stuff. Moving on to Wincanton's biggest race of the year, the Badger Beers Chase. It's a really competitive renewal this year. We're not entirely sure what the declaration is going to be just yet, but at confirmation stage, it really does have a very competitive feel to it. Present Man has won the last 2 runnings of this race and goes for it again under Bryony Frost. Paul Nicholls has also got Give Me a Copper in here. Colin Tizard's White Moon is very prominent in the market as well, along with Johannes, Cloth Cap, and Little Rockefeller. Harriet, come to you first this time. Have you got a fancy in this?
Yeah, I mean, White Moon, I thought he was going to win the other day before really unluckily falling after the last.
He wasn't he? Yeah.
I think it was worth to note as well, that was his first run since he'd had a wind up, so he could be a bit of a different horse this year. Absolutely. And I do think he would have made a winning return. The one I do really like though is the lovely Lil Rockefeller. I absolutely adore this horse. He's so brave, he's so tough. He put in a really good performance at Chepstow behind Ballyoptic. He's since come out and won Charlie Hall. Yep. I think he's going to be one that will keep going. He's not the cleanest of jumpers, and we know that, and he's probably going to go through quite a few, but I do think he will keep going and hopefully be there at the end.
Lovely. What about you, Matt?
Well, I'm actually sort of in opposition to Harriet's position here, because I think this looks plenty competitive for me, and there's going to be quite a lot of pressure on the jumping. I think Lil Rockefeller for me and White Moon, and I've been let down by both before, have potentially got some problems with their jumping. So I've been looking at those that are a little bit more solid. If he runs, I really like the young master. I think I saw him win about this time last year at Cheltenham when he was unstoppable off the front end. He's actually won this race a number of years back, but got disqualified for some weird administrative error where he shouldn't have been running in the first place. So if the young master runs, it will probably be that. But otherwise, I really like West Approach.
Okay.
I really like West. I like chasers that are still running underneath their hurdles mark, and he's one of a couple in there for Saturday. I thought he ran really, really well at Cheltenham and just got beat up the hill in a complete slog. It was so heavy, you could see the standing water on the track by a horse he was giving about £9 away to. So I think Tizard does really well with his chasers, and West Approach could be one to improve a little bit more. And at 10s and 12s, I'm willing to have an each-way punt.
Lovely. Well, interesting you say that Tizard does so well with his chasers, because I know you're not as keen on White Moon.
Not quite, no. Not quite.
Whereas I am. So I think this is he's still a very promising youngster. He looked to have the world at his feet earlier on in his career, before proving slightly disappointing last year, could only manage one victory. But as you say, he's had a wind operation. I actually spoke to Colin Tizard earlier in the week, and he said he's not sure whether it was the wind operation that's done the trick, but something's changed in his regime, and he does seem to think he's got a better horse this year. He did produce a very nice run at Wincanton on his reappearance, which is over a slightly further trip than this one, so at least we know he's going to stay well. Obviously, his jumping is a slight issue, and he has gone up £5 for that last run. But if he does come in there in the same form, his confidence hasn't been knocked. And I can see him running a huge race. He's not a fantastic price, around about the 7-1 mark, but I can see him going well. One I also like to mention is a horse called Johannos, for the Germans out there. This is a horse for Nigel Hawke, who is in fantastic form at the moment. I do think he's a very underrated trainer, actually. He's starting to get some good horses from the likes of the Roonies, which is good to see. But this horse has got a very low weight and ran an absolute blinder on his return against a horse called Trucker's Lodge at Chepstow in a novice chase. That horse is rated 140 and Johannes is rated 125, and he pushed him within half a length, which suggests that he's actually very well handicapped. From the bottom of the weights, he's never won over fences. I know you alluded to off air earlier, but I'm not sure that matters so much because he could be so well in. And yeah, for the informed Nigel Hawke team, I can see him going very close. Obviously, Little Rockefeller, as you already mentioned, needs to brush up his jumping, in my opinion. He can't do it at all. But another one I'd like to mention is Justice Sting for Harry Fry. He won his first two starts returning last season, so he obviously goes well fresh. And he looked a real horse to follow then. His season petered off a bit last year, but I think if he gets back on track for Harry Fry, who knows what he's doing? He knows his onions, and I can see him going very close as well. But for me, I'm going to stick with Johannos and White Moon to come second. Matt, what you're going to go?
I think I'm probably going to back West Approach. I think there's a chance the young master might go to the veterans at Sandown instead. I'd be tempted to have a bet on Present Man, given his form over the track and at this exact race.
Actually, we haven't really mentioned him, have we?
Yeah, exactly. I think, but he's crept up the weights again, and I think this is a more competitive race than it was last year or the year before. So I think he'll probably run close, but in the end, I'm going to stick with West Approach.
The thing about Present Man as well is that I know he did the same thing last year. He was woefully out of form before going and running a massive race, obviously winning last
He loves
year.
it at Wincanton. If you look at his form at Wincanton, it's really excellent.
So you can probably ignore what he's done before,
Yeah.
because it has been absolutely atrocious. Last season, he really did sail off. But obviously Nichols, this is going to be his Gold Cup, isn't it? Nichols is going to train him for the minute for this.
Yeah.
And young Bryony Frost, who's come under a bit of flack recently on Twitter, but she is a brilliant rider and she gets on so well with him. So I can see him running very close. Harriet, what about you? Your pick is Little Rockefeller, is that right?
I'm going to go for Little Rockefeller. I would just like to give a mention to another Nichols horse in Give Me a Copper, who I know, a couple of years ago, they were really, really keen on this horse, and he's never had the chance to fulfil his talent. He's had such a stop and start career. It would just be interesting to see how he goes. Like, I would love to think that he can actually uncover some of his talent, maybe this season.
Great. Well, actually, I'm just going to mention one other one quickly. Actually, two. A horse called Akil for Venetia Williams, a lovely grey, who's a fantastic jumper. Improved a lot last season, won I think 3 out of his 4 starts over fences. He's creeping up the weights, but Venetia's in fantastic form at the moment. And I would like to see him run well. She's got a fantastic operation down in Herefordshire. It'd be great to see. And a horse called Some Kind of King, who ran second in the race last year. Not been as good form this year, at the end of last year, and is now £4 higher. But Tom George will definitely have trained him for this, and he obviously goes well at the track, so I can see him running a big race as well.
Tom George's stable's in great form as well. Winners all over the place.
Black Op won the other day, didn't it?
Exactly,
yeah, absolutely. Well, that's our view on both races at Wincanton, but it's fascinating to see what Starman and tipster Templegate has to say about it. He gave us this little video earlier on.
Right, we've got the Badger Beer Chase at Wincanton this weekend. It's a good race. I'll give you a short list of a couple. I'll be keeping a close eye on the Young Master. Had a good a quiet prep run on the flat last time, but that should leave him spot on fitness-wise for this. His form in the Kim Muir and the Bet365 Gold Cup at Sandown late on last season, that was pretty strong. I think he should be right up there, as should Present Man. Won this for the past 2 seasons, so not an original selection, but Paul Nicholls will have him absolutely laid out for this. This will be the cup final for the season. We know conditions are ideal, so should run well. White Moon's being backed, but I'm not sure that tumble at the last time could have taken it out of him. Johannes is another one I'm quite interested in down the bottom of the weights. Early days for him, good second at Chepstow last time and has more to offer. We've got the Elite Hurdle as well at Wincanton. Fusil Raffles has been well back for this, and you can see why. Good form, Grade 1, Grade 2 level, won the Adonis and then won at Punchestown despite not being fully fit according to trainer Nicky Henderson. Real contender for the champion hurdle, you'd have to think. Le Patriot will be no pushover though. That Swinton hurdle win was excellent. This is a rising class, of course, but that was still a good run, and he'll be right there, as will Grand Sonsi, I think. A bit to find with the others, maybe. Took a fall, of course, at Kempton, which isn't ideal, but has talent and has a lot more to offer. Hopefully some of those will do the business for us.
On Sunday at Sandown, the wonderfully exciting Santini makes his return for Nicky Henderson in the intermediate chase. This has been a race where a few other good horses have made their seasonal reappearances, and he is the latest of them. Very good horse last season, looks to have the world at his feet over fences this year. Henderson and Seven Barrows think the world of him. Guys, what do we think? Is he pretty much nailed on for this? I mean, I know that you and I share opinion that he might not be, Matt.
Yeah, I'd always like to take on a favourite, right? I'm looking for value, and I just think that the form of the RSA and the race before that has maybe not worked out so great. So he lost the top of the game. He went on to Aintree and then got beat by Lost in Translation. He looked a little bit slow at Kempton and didn't seem to like going right-handed. Lost a Le Bagoa, who's since come out and not quite franked that form as well. So I just think there's a few chinks in the armour there, and it might be that form line isn't as strong as it looks, but he's very well regarded, and there's a reason for that. But if it were me, I'd be looking at opposing him. And Talk is Cheap is a great horse who ran all over a decent field at Sandown not too long ago, ruining a lucky 15 for me with my favourite young master. So I think I'd be looking to take him on. But there's a very good reason why he's held in such high regard. So it'll be an interesting watch.
Well, he's a brilliant jumper, but one thing for me about him is that the Sandown, he just, as you say, he looks quite slow, and Sandown is a sharp track.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of potential still to come, but I would agree with you. I think Talk is Cheap, who improved leaps and bounds for that Bet365 Gold Cup win last season. He won by 10 lengths that day, travelled into it so nicely. Yeah. We know he likes the track. He's improved. He's only a few pounds off the favourite now, and he's getting weight, so I can see him running a huge race. Harriet, what do you think?
I'm going to disagree with you there. I can't wait to see Santini back. And when you're mentioning the horses, with form lines, top of the game, Lost in Translation, these are seriously good horses that we're going along those lines with. And I think Santini could be very, very smart. I really liked his run at Cheltenham. Even though he didn't win, I thought he ran very, very well. And this year, I'm really looking forward to him. So,
do you think he could be a little bit vulnerable in the season return?
My only concern is the track.
Okay.
That would be a little bit of a concern for me, as you've touched on before. However, he could just have the class just to see off off his rivals. Yeah.
Well, he could well do. I think it probably is between the two of them. Little Rockefeller also has an entry for this. We should probably say. I don't know where he's most likely to go. My first thought would probably be the Badger Bears, but I don't know. Badger Bears. Now McGinty and Steely Edition, the other two entries in this race, are probably going to be outclassed if the first two run to their ability. Yeah. Lost in Translation has been given a mention by both of you just then. We should probably talk about how impressive he was on Sunday at Carlisle. I mean, he was absolutely extraordinary. He jumped like a buck, barely touched a twig throughout. Carlisle is famously, a difficult track to jump at. Its fences are very big. I mean, he's very high up in the Gold Cup market, and I think he might even be favourite now. He does look like he's going to be a really good horse this season, doesn't he? Either one of you.
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching. There's a little video on Twitter of every single one of his jumps, and it's just a joy to watch. He stood off so many. Like you say, he didn't even touch a twig. And when you see a performance like that round a track like Carlisle, you have to kind of sit up and say that is a very, very good horse. And I mean, I think he's very, very short for the Betfair Chase now.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
That's going to be really exciting to see. And then you've got the options of the King George before you even get to Cheltenham. He's obviously held in such high regard. And yeah, I mean, when you look at a performance like that, if I was Colin Tizard, I'd be saying, bring on Altior.
Yeah,
there you go. So. I like that.
Fighting talk.
Yeah, indeed.
Well, I followed him last season by virtue of being a big fan of Defi de Soy, who eventually improved passing. But Defi de Soy, once he got the hang of jumping, showed his true class. But that was over shorter distances, more like 2.5 miles. And Lost in Translation's a big horse. And as soon as he stepped up to that kind of 3 mile mark at Aintree last season after he ran at Cheltenham, you saw the improvement come out. And so to see him jump so well at Carlisle was really, really nice, because he could be a top class horse. And I do really fancy him for the Gold Cup. At the prices, though, this far out, anything can happen. There's no chance of you having an anti-post punt.
Not a chance, no. I mean, he's probably not going to fall. That's the only thing you could say. And, if he jumps like he did at Carlisle. I've very rarely seen a horse anywhere really jump like that. He didn't touch a twig the whole way around. And for a horse who's only had a handful of starts over fences, it just suggests that he's got so much more to go. And he's a massive horse. Yeah, he's so scopy. And the way he jumps suggests to me he's going to go right to the top. And he put away a decent field. Kildesart was running in that race, and he put them away very, very easily. Hardly extended, hardly came off the bridle. I don't think he did, actually. He's one of the horses that ran last week. Another one was Sam Crow, Jigginstan's horse, who lost the plot last season, having looked very exciting in his younger days. But his chasing debut was very promising. Beat a decent field, not an amazing field, but a decent field. I mean, he was a very long odds on to do so, but he couldn't have done it more impressively. And the main thing is, he looked to have rediscovered a bit of his verve, didn't he? A bit of his zest for life. It came back a bit. Whether or not once he takes on better rivals than that, he might come unstuck a bit, as he has done in the past last year. We are yet to see, but hopefully the real Sam Crow, the real deal, is back. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I think he's one of these hurdlers who always looked like he travelled really strongly into races and sometimes faded out. I remember seeing him lose over 2 miles. I think it might have been at Punchestown. It was definitely over in Ireland, where he just seemed to run out of gas and maybe got outspeeded. And it might be that kind of strong travelling style that he's got will suit him better for fences. He's definitely going to come under more pressure with his jumping than he did at the weekend. Sure. He did jump right a little bit.
He did, yeah.
I think for he's a favourite in Ireland. He's got a load of support behind him. So I think for a lot of people that would have been really, really encouraging. I wouldn't be rushing to get overexcited about him just yet. I would like to see him come up against a slightly better standard of field. But for sure, it's potentially promising for him in the way that he goes about running his races.
Absolutely, Harry. Would you agree that the field wasn't that strong? He's still got a bit to prove.
I mean, you can't just judge him just off the back of one run. However, last season, kind of thinking he had the lung infection, which meant he missed Cheltenham. Maybe something wasn't quite right throughout the whole season. Before that, he had that quite heavy fall at Punchestown in the Champion Hurdle. I think he's been given a good break now. He's had time to recover from all of that. Maybe there was a few niggles after that. We don't really know. And you can't deny that he was very impressive. Although, like you say, these early season chases, you don't know what's going to come out further down the season. But all signs really positive.
Yeah. Unfortunately, his main market rival did disappoint badly in that race. So the form is definitely up for scrutiny. But no, the second coming, as Michael O'Leary called him once. It would be great to see him come back to his best.
Yeah, and in the battle of the British and Irish at Cheltenham, I sometimes do take pleasure from seeing these big Irish favourites get beat. So I'm not willing to go supporting him just yet. But it was an okay enough first one.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's most I would say of all the Irish novices, he's novice chasers. He's most likely to be the one that's going to be the Delta work, this year's Delta work in the RSA. and hopefully he can get there unscathed. And another one that ran this week was a horse called Envoy Allen, who won the Champion Bumper at Cheltenham Festival last year. Scooted up in his hurdling debut. Very impressed with Gordon Elliott. Harry, do you think he can go right to the top?
I think he can. What really struck me with him was his hurdling technique. Was so quick over those hurdles, and that's what you need. Sometimes you have these really promising bumper horses, and they just take too long in the air getting from A to B.
Absolutely.
But he was really efficient the way he went over those hurdles, and that to me suggests that he could go very, very far. And he certainly wasn't lacking for any speed as well. I think Elliott's keen to keep him at 2 miles at the moment, but I think he's already favourite for the Ballymore, so we're probably going to see him go up in trip. But yeah, I mean, unbeaten record still intact. These are the horses that we all want to go to the races and see, and hopefully he can continue throughout the season.
I couldn't agree more, Matt.
Yeah, I think it's really great as well to see Cheveley Park going over obstacles, which is kind of, it's almost a weird thing to see when you're watching. You're so not used to seeing those colours jump over fences and hurdles. But he's obviously got speed, and what stood out for me as well as the jumping was the enthusiasm. Just seemed to really love getting down to his task. First time over the hurdles, so yeah, it looks to me like he'll be an absolute superstar with any of that.
Well, it would be great to see that for Cheveley Park, as you say. Yeah, it'd be really nice. I was very taken by his hurdling, as you say, and I think he is going to go right to the top. He beat a very good field in the Champion Bumper last year, and it's not often that Champion Bumper winners do translate their form to hurdles. So we have got to wait and see whether he can do it against better opposition. But at this stage, you'd say he's definitely on the way up. Gordon Elliott obviously got a battalion of riches at the moment, headed by Tiger Roll, obviously going through his 3rd Grand National later in the season. But hopefully Santini can prove the next one to come back and do the business on his reappearance. It'd be great to see him win, even though I think he's probably going to be up against Talk is Cheap. Thanks very much, guys, for this week. It's been a pleasure. And hopefully we've given you some winners at home.